This is Anthony from All Metal Music. On the phone with Mike from Moonspell. How have you been lately?
Well, it's been great. We're really excited about this new release under Seth and I, and we've been putting a lot of work and effort into it. So, of course, we're also a bit tired, but I think it's been well worth it. And, here in Portugal, the weather's awesome at the moment, so there's not much I can complain about.
Why did you guys decide to re-record the old material for the new album instead of just writing something completely new?
Well, our new album is going to be out next year. We already have the studio booked for January, so the process of writing the new album has always been on mine. We've been working also, along beside the new material. But when this opportunity came to re-record all the old songs, it was first seen as like only a project, and that we would just like re-record it and have something, for the fans, because it's been very difficult to find Under the Moonspell, and we see a lot of bootlegs around, a lot of complaints. And also, there's a lot of curiosity because of our demos and the promo tracks from back from 91 and 92. So I thought it would be good to have everything in just one package. And it's always like a good experience for Moonspell also. Of course, we didn't know what the hell we were getting into, and it was a lot more work than we ever thought. But in the end, I think we've discovered a lot more about, where we came from and how we started, why we started to do music. And I think that's going to help a lot also with the new album.
How do the re-recordings for this album differ from the original recordings?
Well, that's very different, and I think that's why it makes it so special. Because when we did our demos in Under the Moonspell, our first EP on Dépassé Records from France, it was all done still in Portugal. And still today, there aren't many conditions for metal bands to record, unfortunately, in our country. So you can imagine what it was like almost 15 years ago. It was always very uncomfortable to be in the studio and to say what kind of music you were into. Nobody would ever take you seriously. We were very young and we were very, very shy because we didn't really know how to record albums or even when we would practice, we wouldn't even know what steps to take to prepare for a studio recording. So I think all that knowledge that we've obtained through all these years, with all the experiences, especially playing live, we were able to make a dream come true for Moonspell and have these songs sound like what we wish they could have sounded like back then, which would have been impossible because even the producers in Portugal, they had no knowledge about black metal or any kind of metal. Maybe hard rock, that was like the most. So we were always very lost, and still are sometimes in our country when it comes to the style of music that we love.
How has your style evolved from the time you guys started until now?
Well, all these Under Satanai songs, it's all previous Wolfheart. So when you listen to Wolfheart, that was already a big step in terms of composition, because that was the first album that we actually recorded outside of Portugal. We went to Germany and we worked with Valdemar Sorice, which was very popular at the time. He Samael and Unleashed, and he had his own band, Grip Incorporated, with Dave Lombardo. So he was a very talented musician, and he knew a lot about recording good metal. So just that experience blew us away. We were so scared at a certain point that things wouldn't work out to the best, and that we would have a shit album. But we gave the best effort that we could, and we learned from that experience. And the album was still is a huge success, and it's one of the prime albums from our fans. But after that, we had never toured. So with Wolfheart, we had that opportunity. And our first tour was with Morbid Angel in '95 in Europe. And after that, we did tours with Tiamat and Samael, all these bands that were evolving with this new style of music. and that was very important for our development, of course. Into the studio to record Irreligious, we had a completely different mentality. We had matured like a lot, and I'm just talking about like a year span from the Wolfheart album. Of course, from then on, years have passed, and as you get older, some things, they don't change that much. And I've learned that when you have a good period of your life like that, for us, I think it's important to, not duplicate it, but, have that in you and continue from there. Everything else has been a great experience, but we've also tried many different directions. And that's all about growing up. And I think Moonspell has done a lot of growing up, that's for sure.
Under Satanai is going to be the second album you released for SPV Records. How's your relationship been with them so far?
Well, so far they've been great to us. I think this option to go to SPV was a very good choice. At first we were also skeptical that things were going to work, because we were used to the Century Media work habits, how they organize themselves. But there were always other things that we missed, and that was to have more confidence coming from the band and more decision taking from the band. And definitely SPV respects that a lot, and they really do not flood our heads with millions of ideas. They're very conscious of trying to deliver to the bands what they seek, in their art and in their music. And I think that's for Moonspell perfect, because we've gone through ups and downs throughout our career, and we're at a period of our lives where we really know what we would like to do and what directions we would like to go for. And they've been very supportive, and that's all you can really ask for a label, is to try and get out what you want as you want.
You played some festival shows over the summer. Did any one stand out in your mind as the best one?
Well, for sure, Wacken is definitely the show that standed out the most. There were other many great festivals. We were very fortunate this year. It wasn't just Wacken. We went to Inferno Festival in Norway, in Oslo, and it was an incredible environment. There were so many great bands that everybody listens to throughout the world. In the audience, getting drunk. And that environment was awesome. It was like one big metal party. After that, we also did festivals in Holland, and also we went to Turkey, and we went to so many different places. But Wacken was definitely the one that I have to say that stands out the most. Just to see so many metal fans coming from all over the world just to be at one festival. I mean, that's like always, and you'll never forget in your life. In the whole organization, and how good they deal with the bands and the conditions they deliver to these fans that are camping and traveling like for hours, coming from, by car, by bus, by plane. Nobody knows how they get there, where they get there. And it's just like a great time, so many good bands. I wish I had more time to have, been amongst the audience, because I'm a big, metal fan. And that's always my favorite part, to go to a festival, to be able to play and to, go out with the crowd and see what they see. But unfortunately, Wacken was, there were so many journalists and, stuff to do, with interviews and magazines and photo shoots, that we were constantly, busy, which is like, also great, because it's not every day that you get to play Wacken. And for Moonspell, it was the first time. So I hope in the future we can be part of the a lot more occasions.